8:42.
Basically, this generation is more liberal, more tolerant, more Democrat-leaning than the one before. It's not just because they're young.
For another point of view, it's Hard News with Russell Brown and Wammo on Kiwi.
Yep, he's the head honcho over at publicaddress.net, the Hard News blog there, and also Media 7 on TVNZ7, which is back for 2011. Good morning to you, Russell.
Good morning.
First topic up today, John Key makes cheeseburger.com.
One of the most prominent of the LOL sites.
Yes.
Also the creators of Fail Blog, and he's there this morning with that little animated GIF of him wearing the Rugby World Cup volunteers uniform and mincing. Under the headline, Prime Minister of Fail Zealand.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people have seen this GIF made by someone in the team at TV3. And it's probably been shared around Facebook and stuff. But if you're not familiar with it, go to cheeseburger.com now. Is it featured?
Let's have a look at the top page.
I think it's been there for a couple of days now. So
yeah. Oh, God.
No, so this is John Key.
So if you search for Prime Minister of Fail Zealand, you'll doubtless find it. Yeah, it is a bit unfortunate, and I think it may even be dawning on John Key that perhaps he shouldn't just do everything that comes into his head.
Well, he did in an interview yesterday say that he regretted the decision to strut. I get from you could analyse body language and everything, but I get the feeling that he didn't actually know what he was going to do when he walked down that runway.
No, quite possibly, and it was a bit silly, but we do expect a little more dignity of Prime Ministers.
Yeah.
Interesting though, he's standing his ground on talking to Tony Veitch, so.
Yes. In fact, what did he say? He said, it doesn't really bother me what the background of the journalists are, or it's not my business. My business is to get across my points. And
as to which he certainly did with the Liz Hurley stuff. Yeah. I think the line was something about all journalists make mistakes.
Yeah.
And Tony Veitch has made his mistake. And it's like, well, it's not quite the same as there's a spelling mistake in your copy, is it?
Yeah, no. I pushed Phil Goff on this earlier on this week about the fact that when he was asked about who's hot and who's not, blah blah, rather than coming out and saying, "Oh look, we maybe all talk about this stuff, but I find this inappropriate right now," or "Let's talk about the issues and let's talk about the stuff that really matters," he went down the same line as John Key and decided to create his own hot and not list as well, and I thought that was pathetic.
Isn't that just tragic?
Yeah.
Key actually, so Goff actually had the chance to take the high ground here.
Yeah.
And instead jumped down to do a Me Too. It was just ridiculous.
And some kind of weird attempt to try and capture the same types of voters that John Key is going after. I mean, John Key, he's obviously going to appeal to the buffheads of New Zealand and the people that might listen to Veitch's show.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was Goff and his team there, I'd be saying, well, those voters are a goner. They're not going to ever vote Labour anyway. Or, why alienate perhaps the female voters that we might be alienating by going down the same line?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And there were a lot of women who were pretty annoyed about those comments and about the ranking thing. The obvious thing for Goff to do would have been, well, actually, things are a bit more serious in this country than that. To be going on the radio, using your precious time that taxpayers are paying for and doing that sort of nonsense.
Do you get this feeling that Phil Goff's in this kind of PR no man's land where he now doesn't really know how he should behave because he's being told that John Key's winning these sorts of people by being the everyday man, or the guy you could meet at the barbecue and have a good time with, where Phil Goff's not that person, but now he doesn't know what to be.
No, and you presume this is advice that he's getting, but really, who the hell are his advisors? Because he can't pull it off. For better or worse, Key does have a degree of personal charm that lets him get away with this stuff to an extent.
Yeah.
Doesn't wash for Goff at all. No. Completely the wrong thing for him to do.
It's not realistic, is it?
Yeah. And meanwhile, we have the Botany byelection.
Yeah.
Shaping up as the crappiest by-election ever.
Why do you say that?
You had the unedifying spectacle of Maggie Barry thinking she was a candidate and not getting there. and then having to muse about doing other things. The Labour candidate, Michael Wood, has done exactly what you never do and admitted that he won't win.
Oh, great.
Yeah, before the campaign started, he said, "Oh well, I won't win." And now the poor old Green Party candidate has missed the nomination.
Oh, what? Really? Just didn't sign the paperwork?
It turns out it was unfortunate. The irony was that the Greens missed because the candidate got held up in traffic.
Huh.
Basically, of the two nominees he had, one of them had recently moved out of the electorate, so he had to rush off on the day and find someone else. And being a Green, he probably didn't drive too fast or run red lights, and he got back 2 minutes too late.
Oh, wow.
And oddly enough, you'd think with the Labour candidate having put his foot in it, this might have actually been a good one for the Greens.
Yeah.
But no, they've missed out too. It is a bizarre thing. But the New Zealand Pirate Party are in there.
Oh, yes, I heard about that.
Which is quite nice for them.
Yeah. Now, this is an offshoot of the Swedish Pirate Party that
it
started?
is. Basically, I don't think there's any... oddly enough, there's no copyright on that.
No.
So you can set up your own pirate party as you wish, and the New Zealand Pirate Party will be in the Botany by-election.
Will they be the new McGillicuddy?
Possibly. Although with possibly a bit more politics. But the National Party nominee is interesting. It's Jamie Lee Ross, who's only just been elected to the Auckland Council.
Young chap.
Young chap, yeah. Obviously on quite a trajectory. Because I think he's 25?
Yeah.
And he was a Manukau councillor for at least one term before that. So you would have to think he's going somewhere in National Party circles.
Yeah, interesting. Also, because the Labour Party announced their list or their caucus, their shadow caucus, and it was interesting to see a few younger people climbing the ranks there. But people also like David Shearer, and granted that he hasn't been around for very long, but he was quite far down, I thought. Yeah,
that is surprising, given that when he was elected in Mount Albert, everyone was doing the future Prime Minister thing.
Well, and I still firmly, I look at all the people in Labour and I go, well, who is material? And I look at him and I say, well, perhaps he could be.
Yeah, he is substantial, and my impression is he's actually been doing the kind of unglamorous meeting people, meeting and greeting, shaking hands, talking to people in his electorate thing. At some point last year he got hold of me and said, do you want to go and have a cup of coffee and chat?
Yeah.
Which I did, and I found him quite an interesting chap.
Yeah.
So he seems to have been doing, been doing the right thing, but it hasn't been rewarded yet.
No.
But you have to say that the young talent has been promoted, particularly Grant Robertson, but also Jacinda Ardern and Phil Twyford. They're all pretty smart, and they all should be there.
Yeah.
It's probably a bit soon for them. There's this awkward transition between the old era, who really should move on, if only for marketing value.
Well,
you need to look new and fresh.
They've certainly done so in the Greens.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, finally, you've finished the WikiLeaks book. I'm sort of only a quarter of the way through it so far. Your thoughts?
I would recommend it. It's available as an e-book if you can't. I'm not quite sure exactly where. If you go to the Guardian site, you should be able to.
It's on the Kindle as well.
It's on the Kindle as well, right? There will be people who take great issue with the perspective in this book, but it's the context perceived by the Guardian's journalist, and I actually think it's useful to have a context, because there's been so much claim and counterclaim in this whole thing, that to have one perspective on it, even if it's not the definitive one, is really useful. Interesting thing about this book was edited in Point Chev.
Yeah, so just down the road from your place.
Just down the road from my place by Toby Manhire, who was the Guardian's comment pages editor.
Yeah.
And only about 3 weeks ago as well. This is the Guardian books have become very good at the quickie, and this is a quickie. It's not a long book, but it is fascinating. And one thing that really jumped out for me was how much of the heavy lifting in terms of making these leaks into stories was done by WikiLeaks media partners, in particular the Guardian.
Yeah.
WikiLeaks has a very sophisticated system for soliciting leaks, a pretty good one for presenting them, but in terms of turning them into stories, they really do need those professional media organisations, because all of that was done by the media partners, including Der Spiegel in Germany and the New York Times. Julian Assange has now fallen out with all of these organisations.
Yeah, indeed.
And is now putting stories through the Daily Telegraph, the newspaper of the establishment, which is kind of odd in itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really would recommend the book to anyone who's interested in the story.
Yeah.
It is worth reading.
It's already given me some great insights into Bradley Manning as well. The chap who
I
led it all.
kind of knew about Bradley Manning, but again, he's an interesting and complex character. He had more politics than I gave him credit for. I think I thought he was just kind of naive, but he certainly had politics. One interesting thing, which we will be getting to in Media 7 this week, is what happened to the Wellington cables, because the whole leak database was entrusted by WikiLeaks to Nikki Hager, who actually went to Britain and collected it, and probably brought it back on a flash drive.
Which is a strange thing to do in this digital age.
But you may have been wondering what the hell happened to Nikki Hager's own stories, because a few different journalists had a go at it.
Yeah.
Via him, he was the broker for it.
Yeah.
I won't tell you now, but it's does not speak well of the Sunday newspaper market. Let's put it that way.
All right, look forward to seeing that tomorrow evening on TVNZ 7 from
9:05.
9:05. All right, thanks very much, Russell.
Righto, cheers.
Russell Brown there. It's also public address.